Hey everybody, so we're going to get started with Module 1.1. The theme of Module 1.1 is working with flat files. So we're going to download some data from the World Bank in the form of a CSV file. It's going to be intentionally messy data, and then we're going to work to clean that up in this next series of videos, okay? So, but before we do that, we have to get set up. We have to create, first of all, a modules folder where we can store all of our code alongs for this term. And then we also want to get started with a Quarto document for this module. So let's go ahead and do that first. In your RStudio IDE, go to File. And then from there, we're going to go to New Project, click on New Project, and then we're going to select New Directory. We're going to select New Project again, and then we're going to have to find a place to store this directory, this project folder that we're going to create for our modules. So what I'm doing is I'm saving it in this folder that I already have for this course called DataViz. Okay, so just choose a directory where you want to save your modules folder and then type modules for our new project folder. Then select Create Project. Okay, and then what you should see is that project folder opening up here on in your console under the Files tab. So this is the modules folder that we just created in the .rproj file that's associated with that project folder. Okay, from there we're going to create a new file, a new Quarto document. So go to File, click on Quarto Document. And then we have to come up with a title for the document. We can simply call this Module 1.1. You can add an author as well, so just put your name here. We're going to leave it as an HTML document, and we're going to hit Create. Okay, and notice that by default it goes to the visual editor. If you like that, you can keep it that way. My personal preference is to code in source. So I usually go over to source and I delete that visual editor out. But some people like it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and save this. You can hit the save icon here, or Control S if you're on a PC, or Command S if you're on a Mac, just to make sure we have everything saved. And let's give it a name. I'm going to call it module dash 1.1.qmd. Okay, and let's go ahead then and render it to make sure everything's working, and also just to get a sense of what happens when we render an HTML document. So hit render. Okay, and then what you should see happen is the HTML document should open up in your preferred browser, and for me that's Firefox. But so you should see an HTML document appear like this, and if you go back to your RStudio IDE, you should see some new files there associated with the new HTML document that you just created. This is the HTML file, and then you have some supporting files in this folder here. Okay, so we're going to work with this later. For now, we're just going to set this Quarto document aside. In the next lesson, we're going to use it to start, coding up our solution to cleaning up our messy data. But next, we have to get actually the messy data and download it from the World Bank. Before we do that, let's go ahead and create a new folder in our project folder. So go over to Files, click on Create a new folder. And let's call that data. Okay, and this is just going to be a place where we can store our data files or .csv files or other types of data files that we'll be using throughout the term in our code alongs, so the module folder doesn't get all cluttered. Okay, so next let's go to our favorite browser, and we're just going to Google here World Bank Development Indicators. And when we do that, we should see a link like this, and you can go ahead and click on that. Okay, once that opens up, you should be on this country tab here. We already know which database we're in. We're in the World Bank World Development Indicators database, and that's fine. So next, go to country. Select on this countries tab. You have three options here: all countries and aggregates. Aggregates refers to regional aggregates like for Latin America or South Asia or Africa or what have you. Countries is individual countries, and all is both of those. We just want the countries, so click on the countries tab. And then click on this little check mark here to select all of the countries. From there, go down to series, and we're going to be working with female labor force participation data for this particular exercise. So if you just type in labor force participation rate and you hit search, and you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a bunch of statistics for labor force participation rates. And the one we want is for the working age, for females, for the working age population, 15 to 64, modeled ILO estimate. So let's go ahead and click on that. And next we want to define the time series, and we're just going to look at the last 50 years. So click on 50, hit apply changes. Okay, and we should see data for 217 countries, one series, which is our female labor force participation rate, and data for the last 50 years. And next, we're just going to go ahead and download those data. We'll download them to a CSV file. And then if we click on what that file that we just downloaded, we'll see here two files. Just open this up a little bit here. We have a data.csv file and a series metadata.csv file. We don't want the series metadata. We just want the data.csv. And we're going to move this over to the folder that we just created, the data folder that we just created in our modules folder, okay, our project folder. So there's lots of ways we can move this, but let's just go ahead and copy it. So right click and copy. So then we're just going to navigate to our modules folder. This will be different on your machine where it is relative to mine, but once you get there, you'll see the data folder that we created. Go ahead and click on that. And then once you're in that folder, just go ahead and paste the file into that folder. Okay, and then the last thing we want to do is just to go ahead and rename this file because it's a little bit, it's not a very intuitive file name, just some machine-generated file name. So let's go ahead and change that. And we'll just call it messy underscore World Bank or WB underscore data.csv. Okay, and now if we go back to our RStudio IDE and we look in the modules folder and we look in the data folder that we created earlier, we should now see this messy underscore World Bank underscore data.csv file that we just created. All right, so that's it for this lesson. And in the next lesson, we're going to import these data into R and start cleaning them up. See you there.